We just saw this in Gaza, in Israel. Radical Islamic terrorists killing Jews. Why do they do that? What is the problem between the Muslims and the Jews? Like, it makes no sense to us. Join us today as Joel Richardson helps make sense of this for us. There's something in, is it the Hadith that says about the trees?
Yeah.
And so for an end time scenario to happen in the Muslim world, they really have to get rid of all the Jews. So this is what, like, this is their mantra. This is what they believe. And is this why they're attacking Israel, as this is why they always have attacked it? Because they want to bring on an end time thing?
Okay, so here's the thing, and here's what's interesting with regard to Islam and its traditions, is you actually have verses in the Quran that says Allah gave the promised land to the Jews. You go, wait a minute, you're telling me the Quran supports Israel's right to the land? Yeah, it actually does. But the vast majority of the Muslim world doesn't hold to that. You go, why? You'll get a few folks that will reference it, but the majority instead embrace a very hateful, racist view toward Israel. And so it's a combination of some of the more violent verses in the Quran toward the Jews, the more hateful comments in the Quran toward the Jews, because there's plenty of those as well. But a lot of it also comes from the extra Quranic literature called the Hadith. The Hadith are these Islamic traditions that record the words of everything Muhammad said, did, forbid, or condoned or allowed. Right. And one of these, and now they're sort of categorized as reliable because these are accounts. When you read them, it'll be like, like Abd ibn Malik heard Aisha say that she heard Muhammad say. So they begin with a sort of chain of narration, and then there's this tradition, there's this big field within Islamic theology where they study which ones are reliable. Okay, so you've got this vast collection of traditions, and they'll say this one's really trustworthy and reliable, this one's questionable. Okay. So this particular hadith is kind of right in the middle. It's not necessarily weak, but it's also not necessarily super reliable. But you have many Muslims that embrace it, and I'll quote it here for you again. It's the hadith of the garkard tree, which, if I understand it right, is the boxwood bush. And it says, the day of resurrection will not come until the Muslims fight against the Jews. And there are only a few Jews hiding themselves behind a tree or a rock. And then the tree of the rock will cry out and say, oh, faithful Muslim, there's a Jew behind me. Come and kill him. So this particular hadith was actually part of the charter, the very constitution of Hamas. It says that we exist to fulfill this divine call. Okay, so you have a group of people of which, again, close to 60% of the inhabitants of Gaza voted for, that believe it's their divine destiny. Now, they've since removed that from their constitution due to international outcry, rightfully so. They understand the PR game. But you have a movement, you have an organization that believes it's their divine destiny to carry out a genocide, a slaughter against the Jewish people, which of course the Bible says the Gentiles, led by the Antichrist, will attempt to accomplish in the last days. So this is relevant for a lot of reasons. First of all, we need to understand war is messy. Israel is not perfect. Everything Israel does is not perfect. However, we are not dealing here with moral equivalency. Right. We're dealing with one side which does largely desire peace. They want to be able to raise their children in peace without being killed, and they want the Arabs to live peacefully as well. But yes, of course, they'll prioritize their own families. But on the other side, you have a group which, let's just say 50% desire to see the slaughter of the Jewish people, desire to see these type of wicked, evil, apocalyptic prophecies fulfilled. That helps explain why Israel is, understandably a bit heavy-handed in their response, in their efforts to eradicate Hamas, Will there be collateral damage? Will many innocent people die in the process? Unfortunately, yes. But the blame for that falls squarely on Hamas. Absolutely. You can't blame Israel for trying to protect themselves and their families. You can blame Hamas for putting their operational targets, if you will, in civilian areas next to churches and hospitals and this sort of thing. And this is very simple. I mean, this is very, very simple. But unfortunately, you hear Christians just endlessly recycling these ridiculous PR, cliches. Oh, Israel has they're heavy-handed, or they do a body count. They go, well, Israel lost 1,000, but look at how many people they lost in Gaza. Therefore, it's not fair. That's not how it works.
Right.
Exactly. So this is very important.
Joel, are the Palestinian people that are in Gaza, they're not all cuckoo crazy like Hamas? I mean, I feel like in a sense they are oppressed not by Israel, but because of Hamas. So what is, are they getting out? Are they able to get out, or is Hamas stopping them because they don't want them to leave?
Yeah, so I haven't been tracking this, excessively, but yes, this is the thing with Israel is before they drop a bomb, they knock on the roof. They give a little tap, tap, time to get out. You guys got 5 minutes, save your families. That's ethical in war. That's ethical. They've called all the inhabitants of certain parts of Gaza to exit through the south, down through the Rafah border crossing into Egypt. They go over there to Al-Arish, is a city there in the Sinai, and hang out as refugees for a few months until this all passes. But yes, Hamas was literally stopping people from exiting, even to the point of blowing up vehicles on the highway and this sort of thing. Now, that was, I saw that probably about 10 days ago. I don't know what the status has been for the past few days. So when they can't leave, people tend to hunker down, and that's when you end up having excessive loss of civilian life. And this is how cynical and how evil Hamas is they're fine with that because they understand that it helps them with the PR, with the global PR war. Hamas is they very much understand that the battle is not simply on the field. Israel has, by all means, they have the upper hand when it comes to military power, no question. Right. But when it comes to the PR war, it's an even playing field. And sadly, I mean, in terms of access, but sadly, the global Western liberal media and the UN is carrying Hamas's water. And that's what's so upsetting.